Hello everyone, Ben here, and we are back on Race Room in the 14-minute ranked race in the P1 class in a multi-class race alongside a field of GT3 cars, and we are underway. We're starting in third place on the grid, just behind Estremera, and we're trying to get around his outside, and we just about hold it as we come down onto the straight for the first time leading into Eau Rouge, but we can't make the place up, so we're going to have to slot in behind. I do not fancy going side by side through Eau Rouge on lap 1, so we're just going to come off the gas slightly, settle into his slipstream, and try now to get into a position where we can launch an overtake as we come into the right-hander at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but we can't quite make it happen. We decide, to be honest, to just be a little bit cautious. Cold tyres, cold brakes, you're not really sure what the driver in front is going to do either. And it's a long race, so we might as well just settle in behind and see how we go on this opening lap. He gets in slightly deep there into the hairpin, but gets a decent exit out, and it looks as if he's got about a second's gap to us on this opening lap. So a little word about these cars. I'd never driven them online before this week. They have immediately gone to the top of my list of cars which I just think are fantastic on Race Room. It's like driving a rocket ship. It feels so powerful, and yet there's so much grip, and providing you're able to sort of feather the throttle on the exit of corners and survive some of the slow corners. I mean, these cars do not enjoy the chicane at the end of this lap, for example. You know, they are much better at high speed, where essentially the downforce is working and you can chuck them into corners without lifting at all, just as we've done there. But providing you can get the chicane and other slow bits right, these are just a joy to drive. As we close in now on the back of second place, and he has not got it right into the chicane, he's got it wrong, and that's given us the space to get through and to make up that spot on the end of lap 1. So we're running now in second place. Rodriguez is up in first place. He's essentially in a class of his own. In qualifying, he was a good 2.5 seconds clear of the rest of us. I just expect him to disappear off into the distance, and we are really going to be in a battle for second place. And for me, that would be a brilliant finish. First time out in these cars, if we can bring home a podium, I'd be really happy. But let's, as we now settle down onto lap 2, take a little look back at the race start. You can see us there on the outside of the corner, just coming in. We don't want to get pushed out wide onto the curb. That will ruin our run down into Eau Rouge. In fairness to the guy in second place, he doesn't squeeze us too hard. We then just slot back in behind him as we come into Eau Rouge for the first time, and we just about manage to make it through without having to ease off the accelerator overly, which allows us then to not lose time to the car behind, and we can just settle into his slipstream. I have a little bit of a think about moving to the inside. As you see, some cars behind us do exactly that, to try and make a move early on, but in the end I'd decide better to just hold station. The move then critically comes at the end of the lap. As we come now into the chicane, he just gets on the gas a little bit heavy. In fact, to be honest, he probably just runs in with too much speed full stop. I found the key to taking that corner well was to get the speed down well ahead of the apex, and then just slowly build the speed back up through the corner, slow in, fast out, as it were. We cut back then to the live action, and we've got about half a second gap at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and he comes in very hot behind us and very nearly clips our rear end. If you saw in my rear view mirror there, very nearly contact into the right hander. That's cost him a bit of time, but it shows that he's definitely feeling quite racy, and he fancies having the second place back from us. We've broken away a little bit from the other P1 runners. Kristanov is down in fourth, about 3.5 seconds back now, so we've got a little bit of a gap to him, and so it really does look as if it's going to be a battle between myself and Estremera for a second and third place. We get through Pouron quite nicely there. We're going to try and get the car slowed down into the right hander. We run slightly deep, but nothing too dramatic, and it's just a case, while the tyres are still cold, of coaxing the car through these corners, trying to scrub off enough speed on entry. Oh, and we didn't manage it there. We've actually ran wide. I mean, you need a wide exit to open up the next corner, but we managed to dip 2 tyres into the gravel. That's going to slow us right down, all the way down the straight here. And I'm now looking in my rearview mirror, because surely the car in third place is going to be closing in on us fast. Although it doesn't look as if he's got the best exit from that corner. We get down into the braking zone. He's coming ever larger in our rearview mirror, but he can't get alongside us. And so we're able to just get through the chicane. In fact, actually, it looks as if he lost the back end on exit again. Which has given us a little bit more breathing space as we come around onto the third lap. We just about keep the car pointing in the right direction into the right-hander there, as it's very easy to lock the brakes. And as soon as you do that, you feel the car almost come around on you, so you have to just measure your inputs in this thing. It's extraordinarily powerful. I mean, just get a sense of this down the Kemmel Straight. It genuinely does feel like you might take off at any moment. It is quite a fantastic experience here in Race Room. We get the car slowed down nicely into the right-hander, just feather the car through then the left and the right, and if you get on the gas early here, then you really can make up some time coming down into the hairpin. Get the car nice and slowed down. You don't want to run wide there, because the road is off camber and it can then pitch you off the track into the runoff area. We come down into the left-hander, but then we shift down into second gear, and I'm not quite sure why I do that. It was a mistake, essentially, and that's put him right back on our rear wing. We then go down into Pouhon. We get slightly wide there and untidy. He's right on our rear wing now, just 3/10 behind. We have to hold him into the right-hander here. We come down onto the apex. He gets very close to our rear wing and he has to get out of it, and actually that pushes him wide on exit, and it means he's now dropped back to a 2.5 behind us. He didn't need to get that aggressive into that corner. I think he was surprised ultimately the closing speed of these cars, but it has now just given us a little bit of breathing space. Let's have a little look back then at those battles as he was trying to close in on us. This is just down the back straight after we dipped our tyres into the gravel and following third place behind us to see just how close he got to us in the chicane as we come now round the kink and into the braking zone. He does close in on us, but actually he's never really looking like he's going to be alongside. He compromises his exit there as well, and you see the car slide on him. Here we are then coming down into Pouhon, and he's much closer to us. He's really looking aggressive here. You're never really going to want to go side by side through this corner. He runs very wide, possibly picking up an incident point there, but he's right underneath our rear wing. He doesn't come to the inside, which is interesting, and then look at that. He's just carrying too much speed. He has to get out of it. He does well, actually, to keep control of the car. We flip forward then just a lap or so, and we're on the Kemmel Straight here. We've kept the gap to the car behind at around 1.5 seconds pretty consistently now, and we're settled into quite a good rhythm in this race. I'm feeling quite comfortable now. Rodriguez, as I mentioned at the start of the race, he's gone. He's disappeared in, he's a good 13 seconds down the road, which, considering we're only now approaching half distance, is quite something really. In fact, he will be approaching the slower GT3 class quite soon, I imagine, because if I look down at the relative in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, then the slowest running GT3 car is only 30 seconds up the road from us. We get slightly out of shape coming through Pouhon there. We clip too much of the inside curb. The downforce on these cars mean you can kind of carry that, but it does cost you some time on exit, and I've got to be mindful that the guy in third place isn't going to disappear. He's got good pace, but speaking of sort of catching up with the GT3 class, I am expecting us to reach them before the end of this race. The pace differential is around 15 seconds a lap, or at least that's what I was finding, to the very quickest of the GT3 class in qualifying. So if you imagine that there's probably then another 5 seconds or so from first to last in the GT3 class, give or take, then we almost certainly will be catching up with them before the end of this race. So we're coming now to end this lap, and we've managed to actually build out that gap a little bit further. It's 2.5 seconds now to the car behind, but we've taken 10 seconds there out of the GT3 runners. Speaking of which then, we've fast forwarded another 3 minutes and you can see we're coming to the end of the lap here, and we have caught the GT3 pack. One of them dives into the pit lane, so that's going to make my life slightly easier. We run a little bit wide on exit of the chicane, but nothing too serious, and we're going to surely now catch the car up ahead as we come down the straight here after T1. I want to get this move done before we get into Eau Rouge. I really do not want to have to pass any of the slower traffic through that section of the track, and we're able to get it done, which is fantastic, and I can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, but it looks as if we're going to have to pass quite a few cars here because we've got at least 2 more laps of this race left, and I can already see another at the end of the Kemmel Straight there heading into the right-hander. Providing I can get through the traffic well and the driver behind me perhaps has a little bit more of a struggle, this could secure us second place in this race. But the flip side is also true. If I come across these cars in difficult parts of the track to overtake, perhaps through Pouhon or into Eau Rouge, and I have to get off the gas, that is going to compromise me massively, and it's the sort of thing which you can see cars behind you catch up really, really quick. So coming down now into Pouhon, and look at the closing speed here. We're running unbelievably quick, and we are going to have to try and get past him. He sticks in the middle of the road. We're going to try and get around the outside of him. Hopefully don't make contact, and we just about get round the outside. That was heart in the mouth stuff. I didn't expect to close in just so quickly on him there to actually have to make the move in Pouhon. I was hoping to do it on the straight afterwards, and we just were fortunate that he didn't come right to the outside of the road, and we were able to get past. And look at that, onto the back straight now. We've got another car up ahead that we're going to have to try and get past, hopefully before the chicane. We should have enough time and space, but we're closing in so quickly. It is unbelievable. We're going to go around the outside, get to the curb. Oh, and there was a little bit of contact there. I mean, it didn't feel as if we deviated from our line, but it looked as if he drifted out to the outside of the track. And because I'm driving a rocket ship and he isn't, he definitely came off worse there. Just in my rearview mirror, it looked as if the car in third place made a mistake there. And yes, Bogdan has overtaken him into third place. But my eyes now are squarely fixed on the road ahead because we've got another 2 GT3 cars we're going to have to get past. This looks as if it's going to be our final lap of the race now, with only a minute and a half left on the clock. But we're going to have to get past him through Eau Rouge. This is not what I wanted to do. I come off the gas. I'm slower than I normally would be. I come to the outside, onto the curb, give him as much room as I can. But again, he's drifted wide, and again, he's come off worse. I don't know why he would do that. There really wasn't anywhere else for me to go other than off the track, and this is a much more sensible pass on one of the GT3 runners there. He comes off the gas completely to the side of the road. I mean, they're running right at the back of the field. I guess it's inexperience, in fairness. If you haven't ran many multi-class races, perhaps you just don't quite know what the etiquette is or how to make those passes safely. But I couldn't really reasonably come off the gas any further, I don't think. But let's have a little look at all of those passes on the replay. There's the first one, nice and straightforward on the entry into Eau Rouge. The second, much less straightforward, coming around the exit of Pouhon. We come to the outside and then we power past on the curbs. He comes, in fairness, nicely into the middle of the track to give us plenty of space to get that done. This is much more unfortunate. He clearly, you see, I think he's come into us there. Let's have a little look from on board of our car, and yeah, you can see he kind of clips the curb and that sends him wide into us. We don't deviate our line. I think the same is true here at Raidillon, but again, let's have a little look from our on board to just see. Yeah, he's coming off the curb, and he kind of drifts wide into us really. And that's unfortunate, but I don't feel like there was much that I would do differently there. So we're coming through now again onto the last lap of the race. We've managed to make our way through the traffic, but there is 2 more cars up ahead, and this time, perhaps even more worryingly than any of the other back markers we've had to get past, they look as if they're fighting for position, and it's for 10th and 11th position. So it's likely to be a bit more competitive, and given the closing speed we've got here, we are going to have to get past them. We've only got a gap of 3 seconds behind us, so I don't want to take the risk. They're running side by side as we come down the back straight. We're going to take to the left hand side, trust that they're not going to drift into us, which they don't. Get the car slowed down, hope that they don't come piling into the back of us. It looks as if they haven't. We get slightly deep, but we are able to get through the chicane in one piece, and we're going to come across the start finish line to finish this race in second place. Wow. Honestly, guys, that was so enjoyable. I can't recommend getting behind the wheel of these cars enough. It was great to do it in multi-class. Let's just take a little look back at that final move of 10th and 11th place in the GT3 field. We're able to get around the outside and into the chicane and get the car slowed down. But really, one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had on Race Room for quite a while. Really good racing and just a fantastic driving experience in this car. Unfortunately, the classified results didn't show up at the end of the race. We timed out. But there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.